I took it as, all right, is he doing this? Is he waking up at 6 a.m.? Is he going to the gym? Is he eating his vegetables? Is he trying to get like the right intake and the right balance and play the right mental game? Like, because if he's not, I'm going to. And if I'm the only one who's doing it, maybe that will make me one step above the rest. So again, it's just about being the best me that I can possibly be.
Matt, talking to you before we went live, you were talking about all these freaking ride-alongs that you provide these people at these Fuel Fest events. What?
So we did over 50 ride-alongs. We did 50 ride-alongs that were basically people signed up and got in line. And I was feeling bad because these people were waiting in line so long. I was feeling so bad that I was like, should I get out of the car and use the bathroom and get some water? Or do I just keep going? And I look at the line, and I'm like, I'll just keep going. There's too many people. So I was literally in the car from 1 p.m. till like 7:30 or 8 p.m. driving nonstop and only getting out of the car basically for one interview that we had like on the live stage and just to change tires, help my crew guy change the tires. Other than that, drive. But I mean, it's a rare opportunity for people to be able to get a ride along in a drift car. And I was very much enjoying it, so much I was driving extra hard because I was having a good time.
Freak Nation, Matt Field, drift superstar, joining us here in the Freak Nation, and something that we talked about at PRI. And I'm sorry, I got to hammer you on it again. Second place, 2 years in a row, my friend. But let's rehash what was going on at the house that Drift built in Irwindale in that championship race, where you come in as the points leader this year, feeling so damn good. And what happened?
The heavens opened up, the rain hit the track, and I hit the wall. That's pretty much the story of Irwindale. But man, we were pretty much leading the championship, kind of on and off, but for the majority of the year, we were consistently getting into the Final Four. Utah had a little bit of a slip up where somebody slowed down like a lot in front of me, and I came through the smoke. It was hard to see, and I ran into them, and kind of that bad luck continued into Irwindale, where we were feeling good. We qualified great. Our first battle was no problem. We move on to the top 16, and during that break, it started dumping. And of course, then it stops raining. So then the conditions get worse. I'm sure from any motorsports point of view, you either want it to be fully wet or fully dry. This whole in-between thing is not what you're looking for, and that's exactly where it was. And unfortunately, I overestimated the amount of grip, and I took a little bit of a risk, and that risk bit me. So we got to remember, drifting is literally a game of inches, and I might have just gotten a little too greedy by a couple of inches.
Matt Field, second in Formula D points 2 years in a row. Matt, you were bumping around, learning how to drift, which is not an easy thing to do. And then you got in this Corvette, and suddenly you went to the front of the line. What about the Corvette? You're the only one that's been able to make the Corvette work successfully, it seems.
So I think it was a kind of a coming of age for me, right? The Corvette definitely, I like driving it more than any other car that I've drifted so far, but it didn't come easy. When I first started driving that car, it was a ton of development. I'm very fortunate that I have partners like Part Shop Max that are fully dedicated to any kind of chassis that I want to adopt. And we probably have been on our sixth iteration of like the knuckles, the uprights, right? Which are very important in drifting because it's all about steering angle and grip. And once we kind of found a place where I was happy with the car, then I could start focusing on myself. And especially a young driver, right? I've been doing this a while, but I still feel like I'm learning every single day. And once I got the car to a place that I was like, all right, this is a capable car. I can win in this car. I can predict what the car is going to do. Then I turned it around and started focusing on myself. How can I improve my mental game? How can I improve my physical game? How can I improve my eating habits and all of that? So I really feel like the Corvette made me realize, all right, Matt, the car is where it needs to be. Now it's your turn.
Wow, wait a minute. You dropped in eating habits there. What are the eating habits what does that have to do with a drift round that might take 12, 15 seconds, 30 seconds tops to get through the whole thing?
So this is the way that I look at just motorsport in general, right? Everything needs to be perfect in order to win. you even need a little bit of luck, right? Doesn't matter how amazing of a driver you are, how amazing of a car, team, anything. You also need a little bit of luck. So what I was trying to do with diet and mental game and working out and all of that is trying to be the best me that I can possibly be. And yeah, maybe for the 12 seconds that I'm sitting in the car, my nutrition may or may not come into play for that 12 seconds, right? But you got to remember, a lot of times we're in Orlando, Florida. It's 112 degrees outside. It's probably 135 degrees in the car. We're sitting in line, just stewing in our own sweat. And then they're like, all right, you guys ready? After you've been sitting in the car for 25, 30 minutes. All right, now go be the best you've ever been, ever, and go try to win this battle against a guy who's also trying to be the best him ever. So I took it as, all right, is he doing this? Is he waking up at 6 a.m.? Is he going to the gym? Is he eating his vegetables? Is he trying to get like the right intake and the right balance and play the right mental game? Like, because if he's not, I'm going to. And if I'm the only one who's doing it, maybe that will make me one step above the rest. So again, it's just about being the best me that I can possibly be.
Wow. I'm amazed. People, I've long since forgotten the issues that drivers aren't athletes, but you're describing an athletic regimen getting ready for an athletic event. And drifting's like any other motorsport. You have to be on top of your game mentally and physically in order to have success. That's what you just described.
Man, I look at some of those Formula One drivers and they're the fittest people in the world. Obviously they're small, but they're small because they have to be small, right? And I took a lot away from them. I think that there's so much to learn in the ways of what Formula One drivers are doing because they don't have anything to do with the car or anything to do with the team, right? All they're doing is trying to be the best of them. So I'm taking a little bit from them, a little bit from them, and trying to figure out my own way at the same time.
So, Kenny, let me ask one more thing here. You've been second 2 years in a row. You're as close. This year you were smelling championship. What's it going to take? Eat another sprout of broccoli or something to get ready to go to number one next year?
If that's what it takes, I'll eat a 55-gallon drum of broccoli. I'll do it. I'll go above and beyond, and I'll do it 10 times over. I think doing a perfect example. Doing events like Fuel Fest, and I'm doing another little demo called Sonoma Drift Winter Jam, where it's just having fun, driving with your buddies. I need to have fun again with drifting. And don't get me wrong, when you're winning, that's the most fun, right? But I need to remember, why did I get into the sport? Because I had the most fun drifting. I had more fun doing drifting than I did doing anything else, and that's why it consumed my life. And I've been drifting for like 17 years now, which is crazy. So I want to try to bring the fun back to drifting. And don't get me wrong, the last 2 years I've had a blast. I have a good time. Like after the race, me and the boys crack a beer. We ride pit bikes around. I try to take the nerve off, the little edge of nerves off by enjoying it. But I also want to drive a little bit more, not at Formula Drift, and make sure that I have fun doing it. And then one more thing that I really want to do, because I go to the gym every day, 5 to 6 days a week. But I want to try to do something like boxing. I've never done any type of like fighting, and I don't want to be a next MMA fighter or anything like that. I just feel like I already pushed myself 10 out of 10 every day that I go to the gym. So I want to try to add something else on that's more for like a reaction time, a little bit more methodical. Because, when you go to the gym, you're literally just work till you die, work till you fall over, basically, but your brain's almost off. I want to try to keep my brain on, activate my brain, and have a little bit of consequence, but all the same time get a big sweat going. And I don't know if it's going to do anything better, but I don't want to do the same thing I did the last 2 years. That's for sure.
Our team is on the Rubicon Trail today, running over 125 vehicles over one of the toughest trails in the world. With all the different modifications people can make for their Jeep 4x4, the only product that touches the ground is a tire. This is the team that you want testing your product.
I've been off-roading for 30 years now, and you definitely don't need anything bigger than 37-inch tires. Our founder, Mark Smith, drove from the tip of South America to the tip of North America on 31-inch tires.
The General Tire X Series meets our standards.
We have the ability for accelerated testing in all conditions: mud, rock, dirt.
We're out here this week highlighting the capability of the General Grabber X3 to see how this tire can perform in unbelievable conditions. It's incredible to watch General Tire deliver in this terrain.
So Matt Field, again, one of your front runners in Formula D, joining us here in the Freak Nation Lucas Oil Studio. Speaking of flying those Lucas Oil colors, second place 2 years in a row. And I hate to keep reminding you about that. And Statman was getting some insight on really what you plan to do for 2023. One of the things we talked about earlier at PRI was the different tracks and how, again, Irwindale is Irwindale. It's as they say, it's the house that drift built. But there's something special about Long Beach as a fan, watching the car come and watching it go versus Irwindale Speedway, where you can see the entire track. As a driver, I imagine that's got to be kind of thrilling when you come into that turn and you see the crowd and all of a sudden they're gone versus Irwindale, right?
Man, they could not be two different beasts. Could not be any different. Long Beach is like, that's where you put your big boy pants on. That really separates the men from the boys, as you know, they say, because it's all about commitment. You're going into a blind corner and you are going as fast as you possibly can. And when you initiate, you are still like 2 seconds away from seeing the exit of that first corner. And of course, what do you need to do? Put your bumper on the wall. And you're like, all right, I check the box. We did that one. Now what's next? Put your bumper on the other wall. And you're like, all right, I can do that. And then you're like, all right, where is that third wall? And you're like, it's way back there. I can't really see it. I'm going to be doing it like 80 miles an hour by the time I get there. And you can't pull the handbrake. You got to just throttle out of it. And basically how you make the Long Beach track work and how you do well there is you're going to crash. You're 100% going to crash. And then you step on the throttle and it pulls you out of it. And just like that level of commitment. I really think that it rewards aggression, commitment, and risk taking. And for me, I'm all about calculated risks, right? I will only drive as hard as I need to either try to do the best qualifying run that I can or try to win that battle. But when you go to Long Beach, every single lap needs to be 10 out of 10, because if you take it easy a little bit here, that's where the focus drops and you could wind up in the wall and end your weekend. So for me, I like the city. I like the surrounding. I like smelling the ocean and seeing seagulls while I close the lid to my helmet, pull my car into gear, and go burn off a set of tires. It's pretty wild.
How much practice do Formula D drivers get at these tracks?
So, for instance, Long Beach, since we're talking Long Beach, we arrive on Friday, cars go on track on Friday. We have like 2 hours of practice, 2.5 hours, and then it's time to qualify. So Long Beach is a perfect example of you don't get good at Long Beach unless you've been going for a couple of years. And that's why when I feel so bad for these rookies, because they don't have any practice on it. And Long Beach is one of those places, like, doesn't matter how rich you are, how important you are, you can't go rent that track. You can't say, all right, City of Long Beach, close this down for me. I'm going to do a couple of laps here because I feel like doesn't matter who you are. The only way that you could do it is if you're racing the Grand Prix or you're doing Formula Drift. And that's why I think that place is special, because there's a very limited amount of human beings in this whole world that have ever put a tire on the streets of Long Beach.
Wow.
Badass.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, they used to race at Sears Point. I don't know what they call it now, but it'll always be
Sonoma.
My mind. Yeah. Sonoma.
I agree. Same.
Yeah. That had its own. I remember Tanner Faust did one perfect 10 run there, and he initiated his drift at like 92 miles an hour at the point where the NASCAR guys slam on the brakes to get ready for that turn. And he got all the way through it. And you really have to commit yourself, like you said, to some of these places, because it's the only motorsport that's judged. And the judging is crazy, and the judges have to know a little bit about you in order to give you the great scores that you need to finish on the podium or win a championship.
Man, I'm a firm believer in, the judges are people, right? And it's human nature. I have this new outlook. It's been in the last couple of years that I don't pull my car out of the trailer and do a lap unless I'm fully ready to commit to it. Meaning I don't want to do kind of a low quality lap, because the judges are always watching, or maybe they're not always watching, but you don't want them to be watching at a time where you're taking it easy or you're making these big bonehead mistakes because you're not committing, because then they kind of get that in their head, right? They're like, oh, this is where they're at in comparison to the other guys. So I try to charge right away. First lap off the trailer, fully committed, cars hooked up. We might as well be going to a final battle. And I do that because the judges might watch your first lap. They might watch your second. They might watch their third. But you can be assured that if that lap you're not fully committed, you're like, all right, that's where he's at for the weekend. And I don't ever want to be anywhere but at the top of the field. And that's why we try to at least my team, we try to charge every single lap because it is judged. And you know what? You can't be upset at them for being human.
Crash, when you and I go holiday shopping for friends and family, well, it's always last minute. But let's help out the Freak Nation with our friends at Omaha Steaks. Beat the rush and check out their large variety of foods.
I like how you outed us right there, Kenny. But I'm sure you're in the same boat that we are. Yep, last minute shoppers. No worries. OmahaSteaks.com. They've got you covered. But it's not just mouthwatering steaks. It's chicken, appetizers, broccoli gratin, corn, green bean casserole. There's something for everyone at OmahaSteaks.com.
Go to omahasteaks.com, use promo code FREAKS, and get $30 off at checkout. Butcher's Cut Filet Mignon, air-chilled boneless chicken, ultra juicy burgers. Go to omahasteaks.com, promo code FREAKS at checkout, and get $30 off.
Is your mouth watering yet? Well, Omaha Steaks is ready to ship right now. Beat the rush. Go to omahasteaks.com. Use promo code FREAKS for $30 off.
That's code word FREAKS at omahasteaks.com. Sharing something you love with the ones you love.
Minimum order may be required.
Hey, Dad, what are you going to buy at the store today?
I'm out of Lucas Oil Fuel Treatment, so let's jump in here and grab us some.
Well, do they have the Lucas Oil Parts Cleaner and Degreaser?
I bet they do.
Well, how about the Lucas Oil Power Steering Fluid?
You know, they'll have that too.
Even the Octane Booster?
I won't be surprised if they do.
My favorite red and tacky grease?
Yes, they will, babe.
Dad, when we're done, can we grab some candy?
Deal, but you gotta share.
Awesome! Lucas works.
Did it take you a while to get used to that judging? Motorsport generally is the first one to the finish, but this is something entirely different.
I think drifting is very much like a chess game, and you need to find your own path and you need to figure out what works for you, right? Because what works for me is not necessarily going to work for the next person. But it's also about like building up your reputation. And I'm not saying like, oh, he always wins or he always loses, but being somebody who's committed to the sport, who's committed to the series. Like you have to appreciate the series. You have to appreciate the judges. You have to understand where you're at and try to maximize every little bit that you can. And then over time, you start climbing that ladder, right? It's a social ladder at the same time. And you have to drive to what the judges ask. And this happens all the time in drivers' meetings, right? The judges say, the outer zone is going to be here. You need a transition. You need to be here and here and here. And you have some people who are like, we can't do that, or that's not good. We should change this. We should change that. And most of the time they want to change it so that they can do better. Right. And I get that. Mm-hmm. I stopped thinking that way a lot of years ago. And I'm like, I'm just going to do whatever the judges tell me to do. And I have it all the time where other drivers will come up to me and ask, be like, what do you think about this? Don't you think that this is stupid, or they need to change this, or they need to change that? And I kind of feel like a jerk because I reply to the drivers like, I don't care. And I really don't care because I'm driving to what the judges want. When I'm out at Fuel Fest and Grid Life and Sonoma Drift, that's where you have fun. That's where you drive for yourself. But when you have to do what the judges ask you to do, and you have to do that better than everyone else. So it's a little bit of a game, but once you get that mindset focused and locked in, then you just start doing that as good as you possibly can. And that becomes your focus.
You know, that was the reason why at the beginning of Formula Drift, guys with road racing experience like Tanner Faust and Sam Hubinet and Reese Millen, they won those first championships because they just went to the judges and said, what do you want us to do? And they went and did it. And they did it. Yeah. It wasn't until I think Chris Forsberg was the first drifting guy that had no road racing experience to win a championship. And he had to learn that. And drifters after that had to learn that. The Vaughn Gittins, the Matt Fields, the Frederick Osbos, those guys that won events had to learn how to give the judges what they want. And that's why Formula Drift is so difficult and not anything remotely close to anything else in motor racing.
It is so difficult. And to be competitive and going for a championship in the premier series of drifting in the world it's so grueling, but at the same time, that's why we do it. And that's why it's different. And that's why it draws a big crowd. some people get it, some people don't. It definitely hits home with the younger generation. And I think if there's ever any doubt from somebody like, oh, drifting, that's judged, that's this, I like real racing, I say, go to an event, see it happen in front of your face. You'll be singing a different tune when a wall of smoke hits you in the face while somebody's dragging their bumper on the wall at 80 miles an hour. Like that takes skill. It doesn't matter who you are.
Matt Field, flying those Lucas Oil colors again. One of your Formula D superstars here in the Freak Nation. Buddy, thanks for taking time out. I know you're about to hit the road again to catch on the big bird, but it's good to meet you at PRI and good to get you back in the Freak Nation, man.
Man, when you guys asked me to come by the Lucas Oil booth at PRI and be on MAV TV, you have no idea. This is like a dream of mine. I grew up watching MAV TV and Speed TV and seeing how involved in all different motorsports you guys are. And I've been working with Lucas Oil for a long time now, and it first started off with, here's a couple of cases of oil. Good luck, Matt, and now it comes to the point where I'm creating content and speaking with you guys and being on the show. And it's incredibly important to me. And I appreciate it so much because at the end of the day, I was just some little punk drift kid who found his own way. And now I'm here with you guys. So I can't thank you guys enough. I can't thank Lucas Oil enough.
Awesome. Matt, happy holidays, buddy.
You guys too. Talk to you soon.